a discussion sparked off about, dice rolling, sticking to your dice rolls, fudging for the sake of story, taking it easy and pulling punches. I saw originally Haminopi, and then I saw Same OG, and I just got done watching, forgive me if I say the name wrong, Circle Ruckman, and his videos on the power of harmony. He mentions basically a farming game between, style, story, and simulation of it all. And this is kind of my take on what he was talking about, in my opinions on style, story, and simulation. The story is something usually crafted by the DM or by the module. And that's the backbone, the basis of why you guys are doing what you're doing. The style is something each individual player has to take into their own hands and add to their characters. That's the backstory of their characters, the little voices they use, how they talk, and the little mannerisms, and the style in which they attack and stuff. Style, ooh, my finger got in the way. The style is the difference between the orc brings his axe down to bear, and as he brings his axe down to bear, I step slightly to the left, swiping his axe down with my longsword, staring him in the eye a split second as I raise my blade swiftly upwards across his throat. As opposed to, the orc missed you. Okay, I attack him. I hit. I do 6 points of damage. That's the difference between just flat, what you do, and adding your own style. Each player is responsible for adding their own style to their characters, and the DM's responsible for adding style to the NPCs in the world. Now, the interactions between the separate players and the Dungeon Master within that world breathe life into that world. Everything starts getting style. When your players start coming up with backstories, and as the DM you incorporate those backstories and their style into the world you're running, that just, it gives a heartbeat, gives a pulse to the game that you're both playing and running. The simulation. The simulation is the rules as written. It's the baseline. It's the starting point. It's the point where everyone has to go so that there's some sort of common ground. If there's ever a dispute, the orc swipes you across the face with your axe, cleaving your jaw right off, just done. And you just go, no, he didn't. I duck. Like a bunch of kids playing G.I. Joes. There's no rules, there's no baseline, there's no common point to mitigate any sort of arguments. And that's what the simulation is there for. Now, how do you put them all together? Now, my opinions on how these things work and what the power of harmony is that you start with the simulation. Yeah, the story is back there, but that's the backbone, that's the backstory. The actual living, breathing story starts at the simulation. You start at the point where there's confrontation and there's sort of things and steps to take. Through the simulation, you add your style. Everybody adds their style to the simulation. That's where, the blood drips off the blade, or, you're heaving and just capturing your breath after a fight. There's nothing that really reflects that in the simulation, and that's where your style comes in. Now, adding your style to the simulation gives birth to the progressing story. If I'm heaving trying to catch my breath, and I'm player 1 and player 2 comes around and he's like, okay, I'm gonna put my hands on your back and, maybe do one of those little coach rubbing the shoulder things, and he's actually a paladin and that's his version of laying on hands, and they're like, okay, what do we do now? And they seek to resolve the further confrontations, always adding their style, and that builds the story, that builds the progressive story, that gives the pulse to the game, the heartbeat. And the best thing I can come up with right now is if you go to a Fistful of Dice and check out the Provokers campaign, those guys got it. They click. You know, they may be different individually or with other people, I don't know, but together, that group, they got it locked. And I think it starts, in my opinion, it starts with Barker. I playing Dice. You know, he injects from the get-go so much style into playing a wizard. He oozes that style. But he always casts his spells according to the simulation. And because his style is not interfering with the simulation, you know, Matt, he allows it. And it's beautiful. And I don't know if everyone else is sort of playing off of that style. And, you know, none of them are slouches. Matt, he's got a ton of style himself. His story's awesome. The way he's executing stuff, the way he, you know, I can see it. It feels like he's taking, you know, backstories from the other players and incorporating it into the game. I don't know if that's true. That's just how it feels to me. And I think that's amazing. I love watching the Provokers campaign. So, if you have any questions on the power of Harmony, check out the Provokers, for real. Watch how the style is there, the story is there. The mechanics, the simulation is there, but the simulation never gets in the way of what they're doing. Yeah, they get messed up at times. Yeah, they overcome. And that's the point. You can't be a hero if you're not overcoming an obstacle. And you can't overcome an obstacle if your DM simply gives you a freebie. There's a lot more involved to that, but it comes back to what you roll is what you roll, and if you can't roll well, if you can't roll good, you gotta play good. It all comes back to that. You know? And if you lose your character, do it in a way, my brother's favorite line for character death. You either gotta die heroically or hilariously. And hopefully that's all I have to say on this situation, but I just can't shut my mouth. Peace.